On this week's Vaticano, we review the Pope's Christmas and New Year's events and hear directly from him about the Church's newest saint. We also take a look at his January 1st message for peace. Also, these modern-day European princesses work together to raise money for the Pope's charity, while Christian persecution in the Western world is considered at this conference sponsored by Georgetown University. And the story of the conversion of this Italian tennis star, coming up. Pope Francis' first Christmas season in Rome was an eventful one. Actually, it capped an eventful year, and one that was well attended by the faithful. 6.6 million in all came to his public events in 2013. During Mass at a full St. Peter's Basilica on Christmas Eve, Pope Francis punctuated that Jesus is not simply an ideal, but rather a person, the meaning of life and history. And on Christmas Day, from the central balcony of St. Peter's, the Pope delivered his message to the city and the world, affirming that peace requires daily commitment.
Dear brothers and sisters in Rome and throughout the world, Happy Christmas! True peace is not a balance of opposing forces. It is not a lovely facade which conceals conflicts and divisions. Peace calls for daily commitment, starting from God's gift, from the grace which He has given us in Jesus Christ. Looking at the child in the manger, our thoughts turn to those children who are the most vulnerable victims of wars. But we think too of the elderly, to battered women, to the sick. Wars shatter and hurt so many lives. Too many lives have been shattered in recent times by the conflict in Syria, fueling hatred and vengeance. Let us continue to ask the Lord to spare the beloved Syrian people further suffering, and to enable the parties in conflict to put an end to all violence and guarantee access to humanitarian aid. We have seen how powerful prayer is, and I am happy today too that the followers of different religious confessions are joining us in our prayer for peace in Syria. Let us never lose the courage of prayer, the courage to say, Lord, grant your peace to Syria and to the whole world.
Alla Siria e al mondo intero.
The Pope appealed for peace also in Nigeria, Iraq, Israel, and Palestine, in the Congo and the Horn of Africa. He also called for an end to human trafficking and child soldiers and prayed for the victims of the recent typhoon in the Philippines.
Cari fratelli e sorelle, in questo mondo,
Dear brothers and sisters, today in this world, in this humanity, is born the Savior, who is Christ the Lord. Let us pause before the child of Bethlehem. Let us allow our hearts to be touched. Let us allow ourselves to be warmed by the tenderness of God. We need His caress. God is full of love. To Him be praise and glory forever. God is peace. Let us ask Him to help us be peacemakers each day. In our life, in our families, in our cities and nations, in the whole world. Let us allow ourselves to be moved by God's goodness.
dalla bontà di Dio.
He prayed the Angelus several times with the faithful from the window of the Apostolic Palace. He led pilgrims in prayer and thanksgiving for the year gone by and began the new year with this Mass at St. Peter's on January 1st.
Ti benedica il Signore e ti custodisca.
The Lord make His face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up His countenance upon you and give you peace. There is no more meaningful time than the beginning of a new year to hear these words of blessing. They will accompany our journey throughout the year, opening up before us. They are words of strength, courage, and hope, not an illusory hope based on frail human promises or a naive hope which presumes that the future will be better simply because it is the future. Rather, it is a hope that has its foundation precisely in God's blessing, a blessing which contains the greatest message of good wishes there can be. And this is the message which the Church brings to each of us, filled with the Lord's loving care and providential help.
Amorevole del Signore, del suo providente aiuto.
During his Angelus on January 5, he made a surprise announcement that he will visit the Holy Land from May 24 to 26. Then the Christmas season wrapped up with this final Mass at St. Peter's Basilica for the Epiphany, the celebration of the God-made man in the person of Jesus Christ.
Nous avons un professeur aussi qui nous enseigne
Peter Faber was made a saint by Pope Francis on December 17, and it was here at a Mass in the Jesuit Church of the Gesù in Rome on January 3rd that Pope Francis spoke of the 16th century saint's zeal for evangelizing. It was a celebration of the feast of the Holy Name of Jesus and the 200th anniversary of the restoration of the Society of Jesus, the Jesuit order.
Bisogna cercare Dio per trovarlo e trovarlo per cercarlo ancora e sempre.
We need to seek God to find Him, and find Him to seek Him still and always. Only this restlessness gives peace to the heart of a Jesuit, a restlessness that is also apostolic, but must never make us tired of announcing the kerygma, evangelizing with courage. It is restlessness that prepares us to receive the gift of apostolic fruitfulness. Without restlessness, we are sterile. It is this restlessness that Peter Faber had. He was a man of great desires. Another Daniel. Faber was a modest man, sensitive, of profound interior life, and endowed with the gift of striking up friendships with people of every kind. Nevertheless, he too was a restless spirit, indecisive, never satisfied. Under the guidance of St. Ignatius, he learned to unite his unsettled and also sweet, I would say exquisite, sensitivity with the capacity to take decisions. He was a man of great desires. He took charge of his desires. He recognized them. Actually, for Faber, it is precisely when difficult things come up that the true spirit that moves the action is manifested. An authentic faith always implies a profound desire to change the world. This is the question that we must pose ourselves. Do we also have a great vision and impetus? Are we also audacious? Do our dreams soar high? Does zeal devour us?
Il nostro sogno vola alto, lo zelo ci devora.
He called them to overcome mediocrity and take their projects out of the laboratory, and he said that the strength of the Church isn't its organizational capacity, but is hidden in the deep waters of God.
Faber had a real deep desire to be expanded in God. He was completely centered in God, and he would go in a spirit of obedience, often by foot, anywhere in Europe, sweetly dialoguing with everyone and proclaiming the gospel. The temptation that maybe many of us experience and many other people have come to mind, that of linking the proclamation of the gospel with inquisitorial beatings of condemnation. No, the gospel is preached gently, fraternally, with love. His familiarity with God led him to understand that the inner experience and apostolic life always go together. Faber was devoured by the intense desire to communicate the Lord. If we do not have his own desire, then we need to pause in prayer and with fervent silence and ask the Lord, through the intercession of our brother Peter, to once again fascinate us. That fascination that led Peter to do all these crazy apostolic things.
A tutte queste pazzie apostoliche, quel desiderio.
The Pope prayed at a statue of the new saint before processing out at the end of the Mass. January 1st was World Peace Day. In his message for the occasion, Pope Francis invited all people to fraternity, what he calls the foundation and pathway to peace. In his official message on the occasion, the Holy Father says if every person isn't treated like a true sister or brother, it's impossible to build a just society and solid peace.
Secondo Papa Francesco, la pace si può realizzare.
According to Pope Francis, peace can be achieved more easily and more effectively if all men can perceive themselves and choose not just to be similar, but overall to be fraternal. And it is from this base of fraternity that many aspects of life can be thought over again, including politics and including democracy. It is easier to obtain peace in the context of a culture in which individualism and technological politics prevail just by breaking down the new idols, which are typical of this culture, that technology itself absolutizes material things, while the message of Pope Francis invites to give preeminence to place man on the first place over money and technology. Technology and money are important instruments to complement human beings and to obtain peace, but they are not the most important realities.
Sono le realtà più importanti.
In the message, Pope Francis says that the family is a source of fraternity, therefore it is also root and primary path to peace. He adds that the less visible wars are fought in the economic field in ways that destroy lives, families, and enterprises. The message emphasizes that while globalization makes us closer, it does not make us brothers. The Pope also asks for efficient policies able to promote fraternity, giving people a shared opportunity to access money, services, education, health, and technological resources. The message says fraternity can help face problems like drug addiction, waste of natural resources, pollution, exploitation of labor, financial speculation, prostitution, human trafficking, and slavery. Stay with us. After the break, we speak to a Pakistani archbishop, and 2 European princesses raise money for Pope Francis by creating a drawing book. Welcome back. You're watching Vaticano. For Pope Francis, promoting the dialogue of encounter is an important facet of every Christian's life. In some places, it may be more difficult than others to create this engagement. This archbishop from Pakistan recently toured Italy, giving a better idea of what it's like to be a Christian in the East.
Many people don't know that, when we talk about Christians in Pakistan, all together, Catholics and Protestants, we are just about 2.5%, I would say, of the population. And Pakistan is an Islamic country with a population of something like 95 or 96% of the population Muslim, and the rest are other religious minorities. Now, according to our constitution, we do have religious freedom. And if you come to Pakistan, you will see many churches. We have many Christian schools, Catholic and Protestant, hospitals, work with the handicapped, work with the drug addicts. And all the work we do, whether it is education or other caritative works, it's open to everybody. Our schools have many Muslim students, Muslim teachers, Christians, Muslims working together in our hospitals and in much of the work we do, all of the work, I would say. So that is the overall picture. But in recent years, we have been facing and experiencing increasing intolerance to such an extent that it has now reached the point of where we are even being attacked. We now have a new democratically elected government, but the Taliban, for example, or other extremist groups who may not be called Taliban but have other names, extremist Islamic groups, who are not the majority at all. They are a small minority but who are very strong because of the methods they use. They use the methods of violence and even suicide bombing. Again, a new phenomenon for us in Pakistan. They do not believe in democracy. They want an Islamic state. They want all the Islamic laws. They want a theocratic state, which Pakistan is not. So that is the basic struggle at the moment, the background, to understand then how a small minority like the Christians or the Hindus are suffering within that overall a new form of Islam, a militant, a violent form of Islam promoting jihad or holy war.
While Archbishop Coots and other Christians are working on raising awareness to their situation, people like Father Brian Lobo at the Rome's Gregorian University are working behind the scenes in the West, building channels for interreligious dialogue and bringing peace to troubled regions.
The whole concept of studying religions and cultures has come about precisely because there has been a great interest in the people, especially also in Christians, and for that matter even in non-Christians, to know about other religions, and at the same time seeing the present situation in the world, the violence that is happening, because of religion. Religion is being abused in that way, politically and otherwise. Seeing all these problems, we thought that a study of religions and cultures is important. At the same time, to challenge ourselves, to challenge our very faith, or to look at our very faith in a broader perspective. You need different other views, and therefore the study of other religions and cultures helps us to do that. So with that in mind, first the Center of the Religions and Cultures was started, and then it was called ISIRC. Then later on, we integrated that center in the Faculty of Missiology. But then last year, we thought of getting deeper into the theological and the essential matters of religion and culture from the Christian point of view. And so therefore, we started this department of the theology of religions. Okay, so it's a Christian theology or a Christian perspective of various religions and cultures. There can be many prejudices, there can be many biases and misconceptions with regard to other religions that may cause violence, that may lead, let's say, a leader to speak something about another religion in a very wrong way. So that's where I think interreligious dialogue would help the change of these misconceptions, like to help us understand that you know, there are so many good things in the other religion that we are not able to see because of our prejudices. And then it also helps us to interact with each other. You know, today dialogue has become a repeated word, so I would like to call it like interreligious interaction. You know, it's just not asking questions about each other's religions and concepts, but it's working with each other, helping each other for world peace, harmony, and you know, to build a better world.
Two princesses have just released a book titled Buongiorno Monsignore to raise money for Pope Francis. It includes 60 portraits of cardinals, bishops, and the Pope himself, drawn by German Princess Gloria of Thurn-in-Taxis. Italian Princess Alessandra Borghese worked with her, hoping to gather enough money.
The idea came out that Gloria started to paint people from the Vatican, friends, or people very important like cardinals and bishops, and I found this very well done, full of humorism, of freshness, of creativity, and I said we should do an exhibition, we should do a book, and she was saying, come on, this is too much, it's just a little drawing. And then I really pushed her, and she was keeping on drawing and drawing very well. And so we had a good amount of portraits, around 50, and then we decided to call my cousin Valentina Moncada, that she's a very good gallerist in Rome. We worked together and we organized to have a benefit for the Pope, to gather the money, and I curated the book, she curated the exhibition, and here we are.
We are here to present the book Good Morning, Monsignor. It's a picture book with 60 colorful illustrations of those who work for the Holy Father. We find ourselves in the secret storage rooms of the Borghese Gallery, which means we have here the paintings of the 17th and 18th centuries that aren't hanging in the museum, but are instead being exhibited and will go to another exhibition.
Oder auf eine weitere Ausstellung warten. Die Gräfin Valentina Moncada und
the ladyship Valentina Moncada and Alessandra Borghese had looked around where we could find a place to present the book. Then the director from the Borghese Gallery generously said, I have a beautiful room and you can use it. Naturally, we were excited to be allowed to present our book in these beautiful rooms and to show our drawings.
Hier unser Buch präsentieren zu dürfen und die Zeichnungen auszustellen.
Now we want to gather the money. We hopefully will have a good check for the Pope. We hope to make him smile with this beautiful exhibition full of humor, and the idea is to get these people closer to normal people and understand that the Vatican could be also a place of joy with people who are normal people, human people, and not so far away.
Wir fühlen uns dem Heiligen Vater sehr verbunden.
We feel very united with the Holy Father, and that is why with this action, with the drawings that are being sold, and the proceeds of the drawings will go to St. Peter's Pence, the Apostolic Almoner, because we want to gather donations for the Pope.
All'Imosiniere Apostolico, das heißt, wir wollen dem Papst.
And through this also we want to support him, because he is the Pope of the poor, and we also have a heart for the Pope. And we thought that if we sell all of these drawings, we would be able to help the Pope. We love this Pope, and we really want to support him.
Papst helfen. Ja, wir lieben diesen Papst und wir wollen ihn unterstützen.
Signed copies of the book are now being sold for $69 or 50 euros each. And for $1,376, 1,000 euros, anyone could obtain both a copy of the book alongside one of the 60 pastel drawings on paper in a frame.
Just before Christmas, this conference on Christianity and freedom, organized by Georgetown University's Berkeley Center, was held in. At the conference, this expert warned of some troubling new trends in the persecution of Christians in the world.
Christians are very widely persecuted, probably the Pew Forum, 133 countries, and there are different reasons for it. You know, that many countries, it doesn't fall into one pattern, like there isn't one assault on Christians. You have to take account of various and different trends. So it's complicated because it's huge. I want to emphasize that the patterns we're talking about are not like those in the remaining communist world or in the Middle East. It's not persecution in that sense. But it's getting very worrying. You're having German homeschooling families applying for asylum in the United States. People being fired from their jobs for holding Christian symbols. These things are new. And then the Pew Forum on Religion and Public Life, a major center of religion statistics, says its measures of religious hostility in Western Europe are now as high as they are in the Middle East. So while Western secularism is not as bad, there are very ominous trends, and I think we need to be aware of them in terms of job discrimination, the ability to speak your mind, the ability to live out your faith. Things are really worsening in the West. It's long-term trends. There is, in the Western world at least, a weakening of Christianity, of institutional Christianity. And you've had patterns very strongly in the educational system of the assumption that a secular society is a society where religion has no place. It can be private within your home, within your church, but it has no place in society at large. And this is a new and it's a very unusual view. And tied in with that is the idea that a society can't be really open if religion is present. And so what is happening, instead of a generally open society, where also secular people are free, Christians are free, Hindus are free, and others, that a secular society is one in which a secular ideology holds sway. So this is not a traditional European view of secular, which had very good things. It's more like a Turkish view under Kemal Ataturk, where the state holds to a particular ideology and demands that everybody succumb to it. So I would call it a shift from a plural society to an ideologically secular society, and that's worrying.
Meanwhile, one of the members of this crowd is seeing the same thing from his post at Oxford. Stay with us. After the break, we meet an Italian tennis world champion who had a conversion of heart, replacing tennis for God. Welcome back. You're watching Vaticano.
Her life in crisis, this ex-tennis player from Italy experienced a profound reversion to Catholicism. 32-year-old Mara Sant'Angelo sought an early retirement from her tennis career in January 2011. She made the decision after a painful foot problem that took her out of the game. An operation on it and a trip to a Marian shrine brought her back to Christ.
It is very special because I had a very turbulent relationship with the Lord. I come from a Christian Catholic family, but I had a lukewarm faith. I had a relationship with God only in moments of need, without ever thanking Him for so many gifts in my life. Everything happened at the moment of my operation when I asked myself for the reason of all the suffering. I asked myself what could be my future. I made this pilgrimage out of a great curiosity, not because I really felt I needed to do this pilgrimage. I saw the peace and the serenity of the people that were next to me, and I said, I also want this peace that I never had in my life because I was always in search of material things, in search of success, in search of the self. And instead, there, I found God. And it changed my life because I felt strongly the desire to undertake this journey of faith and the desire to walk with the Lord. So I left my tennis career with conviction, and once I returned to Italy, I placed myself in search of people who could help me in the faith and in this journey. I suddenly prepared myself to receive the sacrament of confirmation because when I went on pilgrimage, I wasn't even confirmed, and the journey towards happiness suddenly began. At first, I had everything that the world thinks is everything: fame, wealth, success, people who admire you, the press that worships you. but I was absolutely not happy. Today I have lost all of that everything, but I can say that instead I have now my everything, the everything for us Christian Catholics, which is God. That means placing God, prayer, and the Eucharist first. Today we are doing this beautiful interview in front of a fantastic church ready to encounter Jesus. I mean, ready to go to Mass. For me, those are the priorities of my life today, and I am truly happy.
Queste sono le cose prioritarie nella mia vita oggi e ne sono veramente felice.
Although she suffered the pain throughout her career, she continued to play, reaching the Wimbledon Championships in 2007.
Tutte queste esperienze mi hanno poi portato a raccontare e racchiudere.
All of these experiences have enabled me to tell all my life in a book that was released in February. The book is called I Promise You because my story is born precisely from a promise that I made in the arms of my mother to become a professional tennis player one day. Then at the age of 16, my mom was killed in a car accident, and this promise, after the moment she was killed, becomes even more my reason to live. I had to reach at all costs that which was her dream, and as a consequence became mine. Despite so much pain, physical pain, because I was born with a malformation in my foot that made me suffer so much. Physical pain as well as pain in my soul because my mom wasn't there made me reach the greatest achievements in tennis. I think about the World Cup in 2006 when I joined my colleagues in Italy in this fantastic cup. I think of the double victory at Roland Garros, at the semi-finals in Wimbledon, playing in the main court in Wimbledon against one of the world's best players, Serena Williams. So many successes. I describe my story that I hope can one day be translated in so many languages, even in Portuguese. I'm traveling all around Italy to encounter young people right now to try to transmit them what I found in the encounter with God. Everything has changed in my life because if I think of the old Mara, I see a very closed person, a person who wasn't able to smile to life or to give thanks to so many gifts, a person that despite having everything, she wasn't capable of seeing. I wasn't capable of giving love to the other because I was always only concentrated on myself. Today I am able to, thanks to faith, heal all of those wounds of my past. I feel truly free to be able to love, to be with people, to be able to see also what is going on in other people's minds and to help them. This is really a huge miracle, that which happened in my life. And I will never stop thanking Mary and Jesus, who have really given me back a new path.
Ringraziare Maria e Gesù che mi hanno ridato veramente un nuovo percorso, un nuovo cammino.
Mi fa molto piacere.
Pope Francis paid a visit to former Pontiff Benedict XVI on the afternoon of December 23rd. He visited him at his home in the Mater Ecclesiae monastery in the Vatican gardens. The two warmly greeted each other and prayed briefly in Benedict's chapel. They had a private conversation and exchanged Christmas wishes. Pope Francis also greeted the small staff that cares for his predecessor at the monastery. It is the first Christmas for Pope Francis and his predecessor, the first Christmas for Benedict XVI as the Bishop Emeritus of Rome.